which is just in such an extraordinary amount of money, it's almost unimaginable. And you always have to pay your bills. It was only in 2007 that Great Britain finally repaid Canada and the United States its war debt of about $80 billion over 60 years. How is the U.S. ever going to pay that debt back? And if you think about the first principle, the greater your dependency, the less control you have over your dependency. So it's a very important principle to understand. So unfortunately, you've asked both a lawyer and a former fisherman to talk, and I could probably talk for 3 days, but I see I'm running out of time here. So what I really tried to write about in my first book was a way forward. How can we move forward from where we're at? It's important, I think, to keep Charles Darwin's comment in mind. Neither the strongest nor the most intelligent that survive, it's those that are most adaptable. And we've lived for thousands of years on the land, and we've been adaptable to almost everything. We've been lulled into this sense where we aren't as strong and focused as we used to be, but we have to get back there. We have to figure out how to get back to that place where we can adapt to everything that's happening to us for our own survival, if you're to look at it in Darwinian terms. And to move forward, we have to admit where we're at. It does no good for us to pretend we're somewhere else. Those social pathologies, all of those things, those are real, and they're impacting our families. We have to accept where we're at, and when I say accept, I don't mean we have to take on the responsibility for the situation that we're in, particularly when a lot of this has been caused by things beyond our control. But we have to accept the reality of where we're at. Because if we pretend we're somewhere else and we want to move forward, we will probably go down the wrong road. And I think we have to own where we're at. In our hearts and our souls and our minds, we have to say, it doesn't matter who caused this or why it was caused. This is our problem. Only we can be responsible for our future. If somebody tells you that they're going to be responsible for you in a general way, as an adult at least, I would be very, very wary of that, because you have to be responsible for yourself. You have to be accountable to yourself. There's no other way. Can you imagine our ancestors blaming somebody else for their problems? Never. Never would happen. And whenever you face any kind of change, it always comes with a great fear. Because you don't know, you think, what's coming. But I think you have to face fear in the same spirit recommended by Wayne Gretzky, who said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. We've been conditioned into a system of the federal government Indian Affairs bureaucracy, as I said, is one of the worst bureaucracies in the history of Western civilization, where the attitude is to do nothing, because it's the safest thing to do. Well, the problem with doing nothing is you're always going to get what you've been getting. We have to do something different. We have to start talking about this. Even if you disagreed with everything I've said today, at least you hopefully will start talking about this, because these things are really important. And if you don't conquer your own fears, A lot of time that fear comes with a self-loathing. You will pass those attitudes on to your children. It's important for us to try to deal with these things in our generation. And finally, I'll get to education. Education, of course, is one of the most important things we can be focusing on. Every country in the world realizes that if you're going to lift your population, you have to have a high level of education. In 30 years, China's lifted the standard of living for 1.4 billion people from people who were starving during Mao's period to one of the most prosperous countries in the world. It's not great for everybody, and there's great inequalities in wealth, but there certainly isn't anybody starving in China these days. And they've done it largely through education. I think China cranks out something like 3 million engineers a year. And all of the Asian countries focus on education. It's part of their culture. And this is what Sitting Bull said. Whenever the Europeans have everything good to offer, he says, pick it up. I think education is one of those most valuable things. Of course, we had our own educational systems. And I think the really good thing that the Institute is doing here is they're connecting the dots between culture and community and education in a way that's very, very important, I think, for us to figure out how to move forward. I was giving a speech in my own community last year, and some guy came out of the audience and he had my grade 3 report card. And you'll notice I didn't show you all the marks on the inside. And he said, I found this. My parents used to have a house, and it fell into it basically was a derelict house, and I guess my mom had left a bunch of stuff there, and he had been treasure hunting through the remains of our old house, and he found my report card. He said, I wanted to give this to you when the time was right, and apparently that was the right time. And the reason I put this in here is because in my life, education has allowed me to do just about everything I've been able to do. Unfortunately, formal education would not teach me how to catch fish any better, so I had to abandon that. But I never would have imagined I would be writing books. I've already started on my 3rd book, and I've half written the 4th book. And it turns out that's what I really love to do. And my education has allowed me to travel the world in business, and it's allowed me to learn things, and my education is the modern tool that's allowed me to adapt to things, if you remember Charles Darwin's comment. And it's very important that we do that. Education is really important to preserving our culture. Education is, I was very fortunate in going through my entire schooling because there was no money available for me when I was a kid in grade 8, and it was a grade 8 teacher whose parents allowed me to come out into the Lower Mainland, and it was through them I was able to get an education. And I met good people throughout the education system, from my law school mentor to all the people I was able to meet.